Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Temple Athletics. I'm your host, Christian Reilly, and we are here to give you an inside look at Temple's Division I athletics programs. Joining us in the studio today are staff members from the academic advising in the athletics department. Starting it off for us is Senior Director of the Nancy and Donald Resnick Student Academic Support Center, Justin Miller.
Thank you,
Justin, welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Pleasure to be here.
So you're the guy who oversees all of the academic progress made by the student athletes in all of the sports programs here
Correct.
at Temple, which seems like quite a handful to say the least. Walk me through what a normal day in your shoes is like.
Okay. Well, I wear orthotics, so I have a high arch, so I need to make sure my feet are supported.
Right.
To start each day, every day at my position is different. So I have the unique opportunity of being able to help mold the minds of young people as they come to Temple. And what it looks like on a daily basis is working with different constituents on campus, whether that's faculty, associate deans, staff in the Resnick Center, tutors, student athletes, and really my job is to ensure we have a culture of success. We're adhering to all university policies, procedures. Obviously, academic integrity is paramount, and it's really aligning everybody to one goal, and that's academic success for student athletes. So it's whether that's coaches meetings with Coach Rule and his staff and the academic staff who you'll meet here soon. But my job is, again, I think to ensure that this is top and part of the culture at Temple University, not just the athletics department, but part of the culture for the whole University of Student Success.
Right. Now, do you work or speak with the student athletes at all, or does your job consist of kind of leading your team in terms of the staff and what they need to do to help the student athletes along the way?
I think as much as my staff may be interested in it, I regularly find a way to talk to the students. I think you could argue that I'm one of the most distracting people in the facility because I want to create that culture, again, where we have communication, our students feel comfortable with our center. While I may not work day to day with individual teams, I do think it's important for me to have a connection with them so they feel supported by me. So primary, I do work closely and through the staff. I guess I live vicariously through them at times in celebrating the student athletes' accomplishments. But primary, I think day to day, I'm there for my staff, but also the students know my door is always open and I'm there for them as well.
Right. Now, you talked about that culture. Tell me what that culture is like that, you want to create the best atmosphere possible for those student athletes.
So my background, I went to a small liberal arts school in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I think that experience, my experience there, the enrollment there was probably similar to some high schools. So I really had this small environment where everyone knew who I was, for good and bad, but everyone knew who I was, everyone was there to support, my faculty knew my name. And coming to a large institution like Temple, I feel like it's the culture where we can help replicate some of that small environment where we make all the big things that happen at Temple, from registration to course selection to policies, procedures, anything that may be overwhelming, that could be large. We help make it seem small for our student athletes, where they know they could have someone to come in the door and say hello, who knows their name, who knows their birthday, who knows what's going on, and engage them in a conversation and help them feel supported and navigate those things that can be challenging for students. So that's sort of what we're charged with, the culture of. We're a one-stop shop where, again, if through relationships, positive relationships on campus with faculty and staff, we're able to help our students find their way.
What are the meetings like with your staff members? And I know particularly those meetings probably consist of, over the summer, you have to have a game plan going into every academic school year before the fall sports start up. So tell me what those meetings are like and how you prepare for each and every school year.
That's a really thoughtful and insightful question, Christian. I think the primarily what we do, we spend a lot of time in the summer planning. So whether that's individual student planning, whether that's programmatic, systematic changes in our services. But one of the things that not a lot of people would realize is that a lot of meetings happen on a weekly basis. Actually, starting this fall, every sport at Temple and their coach is required to meet with their academic advisor and their sport administrator on a weekly basis to review the academic progress of all their teams. This has happened to a lot of teams almost automatically throughout the years, but to make it systematically. So our staff is meeting with their coaches and their sport administrators on a weekly basis to sort of go through. We have a coaches report where it has all the students, their course information, kind of what they've been doing in their progress, what do they have due this week, and we could sort of paint a picture for our coaches of what that student's doing academically academically currently and what they have coming up. So then that coach can then encourage the students to have a good, strong finish in the coming week and address any. A lot of it's not just people would think our work, it's that punishment and it's they're going after, but we also talk about all the great things.
Right.
Whether that's Student Athlete of the Month, where one of our advisors, who again you'll meet here soon, has identified a freshman who he thinks is doing a tremendous job and talked to the coach like, hey, he's going to be our Student Athlete of the Month, and Coach Rule made it very clear. I'd love that. So it's that type of culture where we're talking about everything. It's not our coaches don't just want to hear the good. They don't just want to hear the bad. We give them the full picture.
Well, speaking of those great things, for the 6th consecutive year, Temple set a graduation success record of 85%, which is the highest it's been, and the federal graduation rate of 70%, which is the highest that's been since 2010. So as much as it is as a reflection on the student athletes, it's also a reflection of how the amazing job that you and your staff have done.
Yep. So
how gratifying is that to you, and how much more does that motivate you to kind of build on that success moving forward?
Wow. No, I mean, the graduation rate is tremendous. I think it's one of those things, we're seeing the results of our hard work. One of the things that the graduation rate that story doesn't always tell is there's a lag in the data. It's actually a 6-year graduation rate. So a number of those students that are in that group were only sophomores when we got here. So what we're going to see, and I'm putting it on national television, that our grad rates, I anticipate them to continue to rise because it is one of those situations. The graduation rate is a 6-year window, and that's for the federal government and everything. So what it is with us is we're seeing these seeds that we planted years ago that now they're growing into the students graduating and moving on to life after Temple in a timely way. So, I mean, it's extremely exciting, extremely knowing what's coming. I mean, I know the numbers of students who graduated in 4 years are tremendous. So seeing what's going to happen in the next few years as the graduation rate starts, we'll continue to see positive trends. And it speaks to what's happening, speaks to the students that you'll meet in in our staff where they're doing a tremendous job. They work their butts off. The students are diving in and are really engaged in this. So, I mean, I couldn't be any more proud, and I'm excited what's to come.
Right. And you came from South Florida, where you succeeded in improving that university's graduation success rate over the years. Talk about the plan that you instilled at South Florida, and did that plan kind of carry over to here at Temple, or did you have to make changes when you came over?
Well, that's a good question. I think the plan that didn't work was the results of the game last week. I had that whole thing set up where we were going down there to kick some butt. Something must have not gotten through.
Right, yeah.
But academically, I mean, I think part of what it is, and it speaks to this culture. I mean, I'd like to think I'm a high energy, positive guy. We build success through collaboration. We can't do it ourselves. So a lot of it is aligning constituents. So part of my plan at South Florida was accountability for students, which is also very important. So coming to a coach, and my main goal when I start anywhere new, it's meeting with the coach, figuring out what makes them tick, figuring out what makes faculty, where's everybody's interest in this, and then it's developing a plan with them for accountability and, again, success. So it's making sure we have the right resources in place, we have the right people in place. I can't tell you there's nothing more important than I do than bringing in the right advisors. That's a process I pour over, and we recruit nationally to bring in the best people we can, and I'm proud of them. So I think for me, we've just been able to replicate that here. The thing I've just been thrilled about is the way the university as a whole, the academic area, opened arms to this and wanted to see the students be successful.
Right. Talk to me about your relationship with the student athletes. I know you're not around them probably every single day.
Right.
You're not coaching them on a daily basis.
Correct.
But that kind of flies under the radar, the relationship with an academic advisor and the student athletes, because it is a relatively close relationship. So tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, mine is certainly different, given that I'm not assigned, I don't work specifically with teams, but I think the relationship I have is one where the students feel comfortable. I think it's, I mean, you asked around the department who's Justin Miller. They may not know, but they'll know who Jay Mills is. So that's what I'm referred to around the department, which I think is fine. Again, to me, it's an issue of there's certainly a level of respect for what we're trying to do, and they understand my role. And I think it's a respect from the staff, from the top to the bottom, from Cheryl, who's our administrative specialist, to our tutors, to, again, Damo and Tara, the staff that we have. So I think they see that. But for me, I want to know something about everybody. I think I have I've been lucky to have a good memory, so I know something about every student. What my staff communicates with me is sticky, so I remember that. And when I meet with the students or I see them, I say, hey, nice job on that test, or, come on, let's pick it up. Letting them know that we're aware of things is pretty important.
Right.
So they understand that they're accountable to us. But I mean, I love the students. That's why I'm in it. The hardest part about ascending in this profession is that you get further away from the students, but as long as you have a passionate staff, that's where now my focus lies, is their development and their engagement with their students.
What's one goal that you have moving forward in terms of kind of building on the success that you've had here at Temple so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think one goal I'd love to see is all of our teams having over a 3.0 GPA. I mean, I think it's something where we're close. I think last spring it was 16 out of 19. Which is tremendous. I think having everybody, but my goal is seeing my staff feel engaged and have them be happy every day they come to work, and seeing them develop into great leaders in the industry. So for me, it's helping them move on to what's next.
Right.
And similar for that. And then I'd also say our student athletes as well, thinking about their developing program to help them with career development in the future. So that's our next step.
Right. Well, we're just about out of time. Justin, Thanks for coming on today.
Christian.
I wish you could talk to me more about everything that goes on, the inside outs of the athletic department. We'll be right back here on the Temple Athletics program with more from the athletics advising staff. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Temple Athletics. Joining us now in the studio is football and women's fencing academic advisor, Damone Merkerson. Damone, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So you work with the freshman student athletes on the football team. Do you just work with the freshman student athletes, or do you oversee all of the student athletes, on the football team and the fencing team as well?
Well, I work specifically with the freshmen, but through a collaboration with Emily and Reed Vanderlyn, we kind of basically look at everyone on the football team, but we have our own workloads for about 40 players each.
So regarding the incoming freshmen, what's one important thing that you want to get across to them to help acclimate them to the transition of going from high school to college, and what the workload is like in the classroom, and kind of balancing that schedule between athletics and academics? Oh,
good question. Well, the first thing we focus on is structure. Coming together with a plan, a good academic plan that can put them on the right path. One of the major points I hammer to them as far as coming from high school to college is just like what it's going to be on the field. The speed of the game from high school to the speed of the game in Division I football is going to be immensely different. So that same can be said about the classroom. So we put together a schedule where they have time to get from each class to each class, from practice to class, and give them time to get something to eat. So we work on that structure. That's one of the main things we work on.
Now, during your time in college, you were a two-sport athlete yourself, both in football and you ran track. So you can obviously relate to the student athletes as it comes to balancing that hectic schedule. What's the one piece of advice that you give specifically to the incoming freshmen about what it's like to kind of make that transition? And when things are going tough for them academically, how do you motivate them to just keep pushing forward?
Oh, that's a tough one. I just tell them, just don't have a life, just give up your life and commit to the sport. Nah, I'm just joking, just kidding. One of the focuses is just understand where your priorities are, right? And what got you into into this field, into this sport to begin with. Understand that the payoff is great, and that you have an opportunity to meet a network of people that you wouldn't have otherwise. Being a Division I student athlete and a Division I athlete in general is just a great opportunity, and it's a privilege that they shouldn't take for granted.
Right. You've been here at Temple since 2014. Tell me what your first year was like being here, and if you had to make any adjustments from your first year into your second year.
My first year was like drinking from a fire hose. Like I couldn't. Everything was coming really fast.
Right.
I was trying to keep up with the other advisors. Everybody here was so competitive, and it was a toughie. I definitely would have, if I could change anything, I would have had a lighter workload. I definitely, I was excited to work with freshmen, but going into it not realizing how difficult and how many of those students can be at risk. So I wouldn't change anything though, because that challenge kind of gave me a foundation where I feel like I can tackle anything, right? So, and I can develop any plan and any support to, help any student.
What made you choose this career path? Kind of walk me through what was the deciding factor, to eventually become an academic advisor.
Well, my own personal experience as a student athlete, I loved college. I loved it too much, probably. There's a lot that I was fortunate to go to an institution where they structured a lot of things where I could be successful. And in my limited experience in a professional level playing sports, I had a lot of teammates who I felt didn't take advantage of that. So I felt how I could give back would be to meet with them in their young stages, right, at that freshman stage. So they lay down a foundation for them. So once they become juniors and seniors, they've taken internships. They have 2 plans. If it's not the NFL or the NBA, it's a doctor or an academic advisor. So being able to help put student athletes on a path where they have multiple options is what really drives me.
How often do you meet with the incoming freshmen or the freshman student athletes for both the football team and the fencing team?
Probably too much. Probably every day. The football players probably don't like me, and it's okay because they're gonna love me when they graduate. I've seen my name on their cell phones with mean emojis and don't answer. So we probably meet too much. We probably have a few too many meetings.
Right.
Yeah.
What are those meetings like? I know they're not always, pleasant, but just kind of tell me at least what the majority of them are like.
Sure, absolutely. The meetings start off about really just starting off with note taking. What are you talking about? What was said in class? What was discussed? How was your note taking? And then we kind of discuss grades, right? One thing I focus on a lot with the freshmen is professor communication. In high school you have a small classroom where you get a lot of interaction with your teachers. You come to college, that's a completely different situation. Mm-hmm. So with people who are struggling or people who don't know how to kind of get their name out there to the professor, we go over ways to go about that. Emails, setting up office hours, and just working on building those relationships.
In terms of how you do your job specifically, what do you want to improve on moving forward here at Temple?
What I want to improve on is finding a way to get the students out to venture off into more opportunities. Job after college is a big thing for me. College is a great place. Higher education is a great thing, and we want our students to become educated, but we also want them to have opportunities to get work after school. So me collaborating with different departments and figuring out ways to help students get more opportunities would be something I would love to improve at.
Well, Damone, thank you very much for your time. It was great to listen to everything that you had to say. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming on. We're going to take another quick break with more from the athletics academic advising staff. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Temple Athletics. Joining me now is women's soccer academic advisor Shawnee Kirkhoff and women's fencing academic advisor Olivia Wynn. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
So at the Resnick Center, everybody's the MVP, and you cultivate your success as a staff by sustaining those trusting relationships with the student athletes. Talk to me about what that MVP treatment is like for the student athletes in your respective sports.
Yeah, just a correction. I'm actually a student athlete for the women's soccer team, so I'm not the actual advisor.
Okay.
But we're treated so well at the Resnick Center. From tutoring support to weekly meetings with our advisors to mentoring. We have mentors that we meet with each week where they help us with our schedule and just kind of time management in terms of balancing both our practice and our academics. We have so much support that they make it easy for us to be both an athlete and a student.
Well, since you're an athlete, tell me about your relationship with your academic advisor, because obviously that, as I was saying to Justin earlier, that kind of flies under the radar because everybody just talks about the important relationship that the coach has to have with the student athlete. But obviously, the academic advisor is kind of what makes these athletes eligible. So tell me what that's like.
Yeah, absolutely. So my advisor is actually Tara. She is fantastic. We actually have a very good relationship because I don't necessarily have to meet with her each week because I'm a senior. So kind of as you matriculate, you have to meet with them less often.
Right.
But I stop in her office, say hi every day just to see how she's doing. She checks in on me. She's constantly trying to, whatever awards that they can nominate us for, she is always, they look out for our best interests. So whatever they can get for us, they do. I also have a good relationship with Justin. So just as he said, his door is always open. And I actually mean that. His door is actually always open. He is always there for us. He was there when I actually got injured this season, and he was a huge help with me, both mentally and physically, and helping me figure out my classes and make arrangements. So he's there just as much as my advisor is for me.
Right.
So I think I have an interesting kind of relationship there.
And that's very important as well. So Olivia, Tell me what a normal day in your shoes is like at the Resnick Center and what the day-to-day operations are like there.
Well, I as well am a student on the women's fencing team, a student athlete. And I would say a regular day at the Resnick Center would be going in to see Justin. I have the pleasure of having Justin Miller the Great as my academic advisor. So it could be anything from just going in for a normal chat like, hey, Justin, things are going well today. How's your day? I need help with so-and-so. Could you help me? If not, I might just be going in for a chat and then going back to the computer lab. We have a computer lab specifically for student athletes, which is a huge help, especially when, it's crunch time, it's finals, and trying to get a computer at the tech center can be like the Hunger Games in itself. So being able to have a space that's specific for student athletes that I can go in almost any time of the day and know that I'll have a computer probably waiting for me, that's just such a great help. So, a few hours studying, getting my work done in between classes, checking in with Justin before practice, like, hey, I think I want to get some stuff done before practice, and maybe come back after practice, and him being like, that's a great idea, think that would work out, and just checking on my other teammates. We're always in there, especially the freshmen who have a requirement to be there, but, just want to be there just because Justin makes it a great environment and a great atmosphere. So it's kind of like a grouping where we can all study hard and, get to know each other better.
Right. Now, you both talked about how Justin's door is always open. So does that make the relationship even more comfortable for student athletes? And does that really apply to everybody? Or is the door open for everybody, and everybody, I'm assuming, has equal amount of opportunities, correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. He makes such an effort to try to get to know every student athlete. So that opportunity to get to know him is open to everyone. It's great because while he's fun, like, he makes it less stressful. So if you're having a bad day, you can go in his office and he'll turn your day around.
Wow.
It's a great environment. He says he's a distraction, but honestly, he's so positive and optimistic that it makes your day better.
Right.
I agree everything with what Shawnee said. His door is always open, and it doesn't matter what team you're on, whether he's your advisor or not, he knows everyone's name. For example, when I'm studying in the computer lab, I'll hear him ring off about 10 different nicknames for random people sitting at the computers, and it doesn't matter if he knows them or not. He has a great relationship with anyone and everyone, and he really encourages people to be comfortable with him, which is great. Whenever you need him for a resource, like if you need a letter of recommendation for a teacher, you might be nervous asking for one. With Justin, it's just a matter of asking, and he'll come through for you.
Right. What have you both learned from Justin? I know most of the conversations you have with him are positive. He always brightens your day, it seems like, but there has to be a point in time where he is tough on you at times, I would assume, at least for some of the student athletes maybe that aren't doing particularly well in the classroom. So when is there a time when Justin is being serious? And tell me what you've learned from him. What's like one piece of advice that you both will take with you from him?
Yeah. So he does joke a lot, but he is serious when he needs to be. While his relationship is easygoing and like he is positive, it's professional. So you can definitely tell when he's serious because like he's serious in a positive manner, if that makes sense. So
right.
has his delivery's very good because he'll use sarcasm and stuff like that to kind of get his point across, and it's like lighthearted, so it's not as like hard on you and it's easier to take versus like he doesn't yell at you. Like I've never really seen him yell at anyone.
Right.
So it's just easy. Like I think from him that like even if you're having a bad day, he never takes it out on someone. Like you can't tell if he's having a bad day. Like I think that's what I take away from it is that regardless of whether you're having a bad day or not, like maintaining that positive attitude and outlook is most important because then you're not, like you're helping other people and you're not taking it out on anyone.
Right.
Exactly the same. If you're having a conversation with Justin and he wants to get serious, he'll usually say, all joking aside, now we need to talk about this.
Right.
But that's one thing that I'll definitely take away from my experience at Temple is to look beyond what you have imagined for yourself. Because my plan for when I graduate is eventually I'd like to join Teach for America. But I was in Justin's office one day and he was like, you'd make a great academic or athletic mentor or, come and work in the office one day. Like, this is what you need to do to become prepared for that course or prepared for that opportunity. And it wasn't something I'd ever thought about, but now that I've thought about it a little bit, I'm like, maybe that's something I would like to do.
Right. Ladies, it was great to have you on. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I'll have to speak to you more about some of your future plans. That will do it for the Temple Athletics Show. I'm Christian Reilly. Thanks for watching. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving with their family and friends, and we'll see you in 2 weeks after the holiday.